This is the world's single most documented genocide in modern history. And yet world leaders not only are standing by, but the United States is actively arming Israel and providing the diplomatic cover for Israel to continue carrying out this genocide. Every day, every hour, every minute, there is a new video that comes out of Gaza documenting this genocide in a way that we've never seen before. Genocide is a legal term. It comes out of the Rome Statute and the Genocide Convention. Genocide requires intent and action. For the last 3 months, we have seen Israeli government officials, leaders, individuals in the military express clear genocidal intent. Israel has already carried out 3 out of 5 of the genocidal actions described under the treaties. So killing members of the group, that's clearly taken place here. Causing members of the group serious physical and mental harm, that's also clearly taken place here. And finally, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about their physical destruction in whole or in part. And that's also clearly taken place here. If Israel didn't drop a single bomb on Gaza, but all it did was cut off food, water, electricity to its 2.3 million residents, that action alone is sufficient to constitute genocide under the treaties. But of course, we know not only did Israel impose a total siege, it also carried out indiscriminate, uninterrupted bombardment for over 3 months.
You'll see the brick is flaking just over here at the side. You can see how fragile it is. I can just reach in and knock some of this down. Okay, that's normal spalling. Okay, the brick from the heat just begins to flake a little bit and a little bit, and that's the way the bricks wear out. Okay, once the brick is worn about halfway through, okay, about 2 inches in, then we have to re-brick the unit. Okay, now re-bricking the unit means you have to re-brick the whole thing. If you re-brick the sides, quite often you have to re-brick the ceiling. Sometimes in certain cases you may not if you're using an experienced bricker, but typically you're re-bricking the entire machine once you're bricking the sidewalls. Okay, now in a situation where these units are going to go over a major overhaul and repair, it requires a complete shutdown, usually up to 3 days of cooling, okay, before someone can actually go in there and work, because this floor, being several feet thick, will still radiate quite a bit of heat, even after 3 days. Okay, it gets quite hot in there. Now, in a case where we're tearing out, this unit is fairly simple. The ones that I've seen in the blueprints for Birkenau, they had 5 units of 3 hearth or 3 retorts. Okay, so these are, if you would picture this as being the center one, these 2 walls would be sharing the units next to it. Okay, it would be impossible to brick just one in a situation like that. You'd have to tear out all 3 since they're all connected and sharing these inner walls. Okay, that's quite a big job. This unit takes about a good 3 to 4 days to brick, just one unit. Okay, to tear it out and replace the bricks, and then you have a good day to 2 days of a break-in period. Okay, in the case of Birkenau, one of the major problems there, as I mentioned, you'd have to re-brick 3 of them all at the same time. But where a real problem comes in is where all of the units share one stack or one chimney. So in a situation like that, you'd have to shut down all of the units, because you can't operate units even though they don't need re-bricking, because the heat would radiate in from the stack. You'd create a draft in this direction, and it just wouldn't be safe to re-brick it. So it poses a real problem, because you have to re-brick after, well, just say the floor you have to replace after 1,000 cremations. If you could even stretch that to 2,000 as the modern units are today, you can see the logistics of the problems that you're going to have immediately with that. There are just certain limitations that the refractory does have.
Good evening again, ladies and gentlemen, and once again, Mr. Lagasse, we're very pleased to have you on this interview. In the Calgary Sun on March the 11th, the entertainment editor said something to the effect that 6,000 bodies a day were gassed, and I presume she meant cremated too. How, just let us reduce it to 2,000 and say how many retorts would be required just to cremate a minimum of 2,000 bodies a day?
Well, if you could imagine an average 8-hour day, it's possible to do about 3 cremations in that period of time. Extending that over to a 24-hour period, the maximum would be 9 to 10 bodies per day. Okay? Taking 2,000 and dividing it by 10 would be 200 units. Okay? And even if you did 2 skinny persons, as you mentioned earlier, per burn, it's still 100 units. You know, just to do that, just to give you an idea. Okay. Some statistics, and I'll try to send along copies of this to you. Just in North America, that's Canada and the United States combined, last year, 412,457 cases. Just 400,000 bodies were cremated last year in North America. And to do that over the entire year, they used 1,064 crematories to do that, okay? Just to show you just how many units realistically it requires to handle the demand in North America.
As to the origin of the present Jews in Palestine, he states that those Jews derived from Eastern Europe, and many of the Jews that today live in the reconstituted state of Israel come from Eastern Europe, are not descendants of the Judeans or the lost tribes of Israel, but rather descendants of the Khazars. Who are they? They were a nation most people do not even know of. He writes, the so-called self-styled Jews in Eastern Europe in modern history cannot legitimately point to a single ancient ancestor who ever set even a foot on the soil of Palestine.